Okay, everybody, howdy. This is the Wisdom on Wheels for the 15th of May. This is our seventh day in WOW. And so this is a virtual meetup for mature women who are exploring or living van life full-time or part-time. And if you're watching us on YouTube and you want to join us live because it's super fun, just click the link below, right below the video, and you can sign up. It's free. So like I've told you before, every day we give a prize for everybody who participated in the action step from the day before. And so in order to do that, you need to be in our Facebook group. And I'm so sorry if some people don't want to be in Facebook. I totally get it. But you don't have to go anywhere but this group. So there's the group if you're not in it yet. And what you do is you acknowledge the speaker. There'll be a big photo of the speaker and you acknowledge her under that, and then continue the conversation by communicating, by sharing, by replying to two other people's posts or comments anywhere on the page, anywhere in the group. And the reason I'm doing this, so somebody shared with me, I think it was in YouTube, that they don't really need prizes because the prize, it's enough just to come to the virtual meetup every day. And I get that and I appreciate that. And I want to say that my reason for giving prizes is because I want to create community. I want you to uplift the speakers and acknowledge the speakers, but I want you to connect with each other. That's my goal. And so that's why we have a prize. So the prize for today, for everybody who did the action steps from yesterday, is a Road to Riches sneak peek. It is a course that I am in the process of creating. And so you're going to get a sneak peek of how to evaluate your money making online product idea using a test that I created that I call the 6 P's profitability test. So that's the price. So also, I want to mention something for those of you who have joined the inner circle, and just pop IC in the chat if you've joined the inner circle. You have been patiently, or maybe not patiently, waiting for communication from me about the inner circle. My assistant is on vacation right now. So I'm waiting for her to get back. She'll be back next week for us to begin giving you all your goodies. There's a whole bunch of stuff you're going to get, a private session with me, some bonus sessions. There's going to be a bonus session with Ellen, the power lady, and other cool stuff. And we'll be planning those and getting those out to you starting next week. So this is cool. And if you are interested in checking out what is the inner circle, I'll just put this in the chat. There you go. And so every speaker in this WOW, with the exception of one, is a woman that I have met on the road while at a meetup or an event or at a campground. And so Debbie Jean is no exception. She is one of those. And so I don't think Debbie Jean knows this story. So what happened is Debbie Jean and I were communicating. I think she had watched some of my YouTube videos, and she reached out to me. I don't know if we were probably communicating on Messenger because we'd met each other on Facebook. And we were talking about monetization of our YouTube channels, because YouTube will pay you. When they start putting ads on your videos, you get paid for that, and you get paid more depending on like how many people are watching your videos. And so she was ahead of me, and she was saying, I'm having trouble getting that last part done with the monetization. And I couldn't really help her. We were talking on Messenger. And then I said, well, why don't you give me a call? So we talked on the phone and we had talked about it. Okay. So a few days later, maybe a week later, I show up at this meetup in Florida. You know, I came from Arizona. I'm at this meetup, and it was a meetup from Kim, out on a limb with Kim. And this woman walks up to me and starts talking to me. And clearly she knows me. And I'm thinking, I don't know who this is. I've never met this woman. Who is this person? And she's just talking to me just like she knows me. And I thought, oh, I bet this is Debbie Jean. And I had never met her in person before. We had only talked on the phone. So that's my story of Debbie Jean. So, but after that, I got to know her as like the most generous, giving person. She loves to serve other women, make coffee for them. She made us coffee every morning. And I learned that she just loves conducting meetups. She loves getting women together and really over the top delivery of fabulous stuff at the meetups. I'm talking meals, concerts, boat cruises, everything. I have not been to one of Debbie Jean's meetups yet because I left Florida before she started doing her, she was attending other meetups that I was at. So Debbie Jean, I'm going to read your kind of like your bio, and then we'll send it over to you. So this is what Debbie Jean says. She says, I began organizing women's van meetup gatherings in March of 2022. This was after realizing that there were so many ladies out there that were in search of the same thing as myself. I wanted to be able to travel and sleep in my vehicle instead of paying for costly hotels that were so dissatisfying. After the first meetup I hosted, I was hooked on the feeling of being a significant part of helping to unite other like-minded women. It gives me great pleasure to see relationships formed at my meetups and to then follow those relationships through social media. So welcome, Debbie Jean.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm going to change your name from Jan Wheeler to Debbie Jean. Just so people.
Dan's here with me.
Hi, Jan.
So much. You met me at Kim's too. I was her sidekick making the coffee.
I remember you. Yes.
Okay. Can you see my hubby back here?
Is that your hubby that you've got there in the driver's seat?
On a stick?
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I'm taking him with me everywhere I go.
Okay. So Debbie Jean, tell us about how did you start with your van life? What was your beginning?
I guess at the beginning was, like I said, I wanted to figure out a way that my husband and I could travel together in a minivan that I had. And I did some research on YouTube and Facebook, and that's where I found the first group that I joined that was called the Vanettes, and it was women who love vans. And I was like, oh, that sounds like me. Let me join this group. So I did. And it just kind of happened from there with being online, seeing all the ladies communicating. And then I said, well, do you ever do anything or do you just talk on here? Oh, we would love to do something. So I said, well, let's get together. Let's have a meetup. Let's do this. And they said, okay, let's do this. So long story short, that's when I started researching the center of the United States to try to bring, because they were from all over. So I was trying to make a place that we could all meet in the middle, which the center of the United States is Lebanon, Kansas. And there's no place to meet up there. I did my research. I started radius searching, going further and further out. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do something in my state and you guys do something in your state. But they all came to Florida when I planned the first meetup. So that's how it started.
Oh my gosh. And so Debbie Jean is I've asked a number of people who did the first women's meetup, and a lot of people told me that it was you. And many people actually think that it was your 100 van meetup was the first one, but it was a smaller one before that, right?
There was a smaller one before that. And that's where I met Janet Privet. She came to my first one, and we were supposed to only have 20 people at this little park that I booked out. But we had 23 that showed up and we squeezed the other 3 in and we had a great time. And everybody said, when's the next one? And I said, well, I got to find a bigger place. So that's when I found the second location. And when I talked to the camp host there, I said, well, how many vans can we get in here? He said, oh, you can get 100, easy. I said, that's what I'm doing, 100. So I did the 100 van meetup, and then the rest is history. They keep popping up. Now, I tell people, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
So if I can do it, anybody can do it. It doesn't take a lot. I mean, it is work.
Yeah.
Organizing it and putting it together and finding the place and taking all the messages on Facebook. It's work, but it's so worth it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask some questions to get our ladies involved. So first of all, type yes if you have been to a meetup. Yes, if you have been to a meetup. No, if you have not been to a meetup. Let's just find out how many people have been to a meetup versus have not. So we got one. Oh my gosh, how do I do this? It seems about an even split. There's both yeses and nos.
I'm a yes. I've probably been to 20.
20. Lots of homesteading meetups Erin's been to. Okay, cool. Okay, so we've got a variety. And so let's let people know. Debbie Jean, how would you describe the kind of meetups that you attend and lead? Like, what are they generally like?
They're generally like 3 days, 3 nights, rather, I would say. I have done 6 recently in North Carolina. But mostly I do 3-night meetups, and they start out the first check-in night with a meet and greet. And we usually do some kind of a potluck at some time of the meetup. It's not always the first night, but sometimes it is. And then just depends on what area it's in and what is available to see or do in the area. Or I host bingo, and I've had speakers that have come in and talked, that kind of thing.
Okay,
We
so
do
sometimes people stay, and so let's see. So people in minivans, people in cars, people in RVs, people pulling trailers, all of those things attend, right?
all of those things.
Some people camp in a tent. And
Yes,
okay, and the parking, sometimes they're just in a parking lot, like sardines, and sometimes they're in a campground.
yes.
Is that right? Anything else?
Well, recently, the last one that I did was at a park that they booked their own site. So they booked their own site, and then we met at the pavilion each day for a different activity. So, we were celebrating holidays because we had Cinco de Mayo was in the middle of our meetup, and we also had the Kentucky Derby, and that was a lot of fun.
Imagine what you would do. Okay, so sometimes you charge a fee because you're paying for the whole site. I mean,
Mhm.
I think you should always charge a fee because you're doing so much work for these things and you're spending money too. But nevertheless, sometimes a meetup host charges a fee and sometimes they don't. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And
So if I'm paying for everything up front, if I'm booking out the campground and I am providing meals and different things, yeah, there's the fee, and is inclusive to all of that. So
yeah, yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so and so some hosts do games. Sometimes they do like gadget sharing.
yes, we do gadget sharing, and we also have a free table usually set up at the meetup. So if you have something that's not working for you anymore and you want to put it on the free table, and then you're free to go and look at the free table and see if you find something that does work for you that doesn't work for someone else.
Okay, so for all of you who said no, you haven't been to one yet, I'll tell you that my greatest fear before I went to a meetup was that I would feel overwhelmed with people because I'm an introvert and I thought that I might just kind of fritz out or something or hate it or feel engulfed by all of these women. And so type in the chat, like, are you an introvert or an extrovert? And if you're an introvert, just type the word fear if you also have the fear of all those people and oftentimes like parked right next to each other. Let's just find out if we have similar fears going on. Great. So Mary says introvert, but fear gone at the first meetup. And Deb says introvert and fear. Karen says fear, but after my first meetup, I love it. Melanie says, very much an introvert, but don't have any fear of meetups like this. That's great. Mary says, introvert, yes, fear, but it is so worth it, in all caps. There's various ambidextrous averts in here. Robin's looking forward. She's an extrovert. Karen says, shy for a little while. Lynette says, introvert, but I can talk to people. Okay, I would be fine after the first time, Hope says. So that was my experience. I was scared that I would feel like engulfed, but it didn't turn out, because I could always just go to my van and be alone if I wanted to, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I have had so many people that have told me that they were introverts and but they still wanted to give it a try. And once they did, they found out that they could participate in as many things as they wanted and not things that they didn't want to. If they wanted to stay to themselves, they could totally do that. But most people like getting out and meeting other people and chit-chatting.
Yeah. And like Mary says, there's never any pressure to do all the things. Like no one's taking roll, or, you know, where is Debbie Jean, you know? Okay. So let's find out, do you want to go to meetups? So everybody who said no, they've never been to one, do you want to? Just type want to in the chat, and then we'll know, and we can let you know how you can find out about them.
It's addicting.
Okay, so we got plenty of want tos. So Debbie Jean, how can people, if people want to attend a meetup, how can they find out about them?
Well, I don't know how many groups the ladies that are on today are already signed up into, but like Butterfly Tracks and Debbie Jean's Van Life Scene and Out on a Limb with Kim. We all have group pages, and we all have an event tab where you can go to the events and you can see what is available through those different groups. And Butterfly Tracks is like the one that everybody posts to. So that one is like one of the main ones if you're looking for events.
Okay, so let me type in what that's actually called. It's actually called Butterfly Tribe.
Butterfly Tribe. I'm sorry, that's her. YouTube is Tracks and Facebook is Tribe.
Camp. It's called Butterfly Tribe Women Who Camp, and it is a Facebook group.
Correct.
So when you search, that might come up if you type in Butterfly Tribe Women Who Camp, or you might need to click on groups and you find it. And then Debbie Jean has one. And she also posts on Janet's Butterfly Tribe one, but Debbie Jean's Van Life Scene. How do you spell scene?
SCENE.
Okay, that's Debbie Jean's group. And then there's others. Lulu's Way has one. Yep. So Lulu doesn't post on the other groups. She just posts on her own.
Correct.
And my guess is there's events and meetups on all kinds of other, oh, that's your thumb. I could not figure out what that giant thing was.
Oh, you see my thumb?
I was like, what?
I can't see my face on it.
That cracked me up. Yeah.
Is this better?
Out on a Limb with Kim is another one. There's so many.
Yes, there are a lot of others.
Yeah,
Flamingos taking flight.
Yeah, there's just
one of the newer ones.
Tons, way more than I want to be on. And I'll tell you, I like being on the Butterfly Tribe and on Debbie Jean's and Kim's and Lulu's, because it is a very kind and uplifting and positive environment. Some of the groups can be more critical of, like, if somebody posts something, they might criticize them for, why would you do that, or something like that. And I just leave those groups. I don't want to be in any nasty, demeaning, it's just not where I want to spend my time. And so that's why I recommend the ones that we have here. So Melanie asked, do any of these groups do women's caravans? Yes, they absolutely do. In fact, Debbie Jean's on a little caravan right now, right, Debbie Jean?
I'm on a caravan right now, and we started out in North Carolina after we left my Jackrabbit meetup, and we're headed to Maine. And there's 6 of us. We did actually have one that left the group today and another that joined. So we're still all headed up to Michelle Silver's meetup that's happening in Maine at Bradbury.
It's fantastic. And how long will you be on the road in this caravan?
I'm planning 2 months.
2 months.
So after the Maine meetup, we're planning to move on across New Jersey or New Hampshire and New York. And then after that, we're not 100% sure what's going to happen, but maybe on to Michigan, the UP. We'll see.
Catherine wants to know if you're stopping in Connecticut.
I'm sure that we are going to, but I just don't know exactly where. It's a day by day thing, I tell you.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Jan Privet, who is she created the Butterfly Tracks YouTube channel and the Butterfly Tribe Women Who Camp Facebook group. She is on a huge caravan right now, and they are heading out west. I don't know. I don't know exactly where they are, but if you join her, if you go to the Butterfly Tribe Women Who Camp, you will find out how to join, because she has a unique private group. It's not private. Well, it is private. It's a private group just for the people who are on her caravan, but you can join it. It's private, but you can get permission to join it, because I'm in the group. And so they tell you every day where they are. And
yeah, you can click to join. So that way, if they're coming through anywhere near you and you want to jump in, she's happy to have you.
Do you remember what that's called?
Red Rocks. The Red Rocks.
Caravan or something?
It's 3 R's. Red
Oh.
Rocks. Something.
Okay.
Can't tell you what the third word is.
I can't look it up.
I've got.
Yes.
I'm holding her phone.
You're holding your phone. Yeah. Can you sit that phone down? I'm afraid your arm's going to get tired. Can you?
Oh, it is going to get
some-
tired. It gets get tired, and then I get tired. I'm
And we're
old.
getting a little seasick too.
Are you? Well, let me see what I can do here.
I am too, and I'm sitting
I
down.
I can sit it down like this, and then
Thank you, Mary.
that doesn't work.
There you go.
Hey, how about that?
Yeah, but you got to get on your knees now so we can see you. Now your legs are going to get tired.
Van life.
Road trip. Okay, we got that. Okay. All right. So what questions, before we get into like hosting meetups, that kind of thing, because I think that's like big step up. What questions do you have for Debbie Jean about attending meetups? Do you have any? Like how to pick a good one or anything like that before we move on? And Debbie Jean, while they're thinking of their question, tell us about the vehicle that you live in that I am envious of, please.
I have a 2016 ProMaster 2500. That is a 159 non-extended wheelbase. And my husband has built it out. It was a cargo van. And I found it on Marketplace, and it had low miles. It belonged to a contractor that did woodwork, and he kept this thing so clean in the back that it was like immaculate. And I was really impressed that when I read that it was, contractor's vehicle, I was like, but I went and looked at it, and it's like, wow, yeah, I'll take that.
How many miles did it have on it when you bought it?
It had 48,000, I think. And now I'm at almost 56.
Oh, you haven't put on a penny. You're going to on this trip a little more.
Yeah.
So Debbie Jean, enlighten us.
Okay. Those are all good questions. And so, like, if you're bringing a dog, well, first of all, the person who is creating the event usually has a description and details about what to expect whenever you come to the event. So when I'm doing that kind of thing, I just put in there all the information about, yes, dogs are allowed, but not in certain areas, or like in the pavilion sometimes, you know, if the pavilion is closed in, a lot of parks say no dogs allowed inside closed in buildings like bathrooms, showers, and that. But if the pavilions are open, usually they're allowed. As far as showing up early, that is kind of a thing, because usually the person who is renting is normally like the first one in, because they want to do setup. They want to check in with the camp host because they're the one that rented the space. Of course, if it is a park like you're renting your own campsite, that's not an issue because you're renting it and that's your deal. Staying late, you know, checkout time, they have rules about checkout time. So I usually post. If it's me that is renting the space and everybody is showing up under my reservation, I will say, do not show up before whatever time. And then I always let them know what time checkout is, you know, on the after that third night, we have to be out by, usually it's around 11. And I'm the last one out and closing the gate behind and making sure that everything is in order, because, you know, sometimes there's deposits that you want to get back. So you want to leave things in a proper fashion.
Really good answer. That's good. And so sometimes, Erin, they'll say, you know, like RVs or anybody who's going to run a generator, we want you all in one area. So, you know, you don't want to be the one running the generator down by the Prius, you know, or whatever. And, you know, same kind of thing. Like barking dogs, there's always one person who has a dog that barks all the time. You just can't so I just live with it.
We don't have any control over that. You know, dogs are dogs. And I will say that a lot of times whenever we have the meetups, and, you know, most of these ladies do have pets. Some of them have multiple dogs that they travel with. And the first day, they're all excited to meet all the other dogs, just like the ladies are all excited to meet each other. And once they get that out, get it over with, it's great. You know, there's not usually a problem.
Okay, so Hope asks, what's a good first one? Like, how would, if you're, you know, you want to go to your first meetup, how do you pick?
I would say just read the details and see if that suits you. You know, I mean, just depends. If you're going to a meetup that yeah, you might want to pick something that's in your area that you're familiar with. I don't know. How do you pick a good one? You just look at the details and pick, you know, see what's going on at that particular meetup, see if it sounds like you.
And I have another thought, because a lot of the women who host meetups also have a YouTube channel. And they usually have some videos on their YouTube channel that they took at a meetup. And so you can get a pretty good feel for the host and for what they do at the meetup, because like some people like to drink alcohol. They would be happy with a meetup where there's alcohol every evening. Other women, they don't really want to drink alcohol. And so they would prefer perhaps not, you know, being at a meetup where alcohol isn't served. Other people, they don't care, you know, one way or another. So that's just one example. And so that's how I first saw what they do at meetups, by watching YouTube videos and getting a pretty good idea. And of course, what Debbie Jean said too, reading the description, poring over the description. Well, like, what are we going to do? What do I need to bring? Do I need to participate? You know, all that.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is a question from Melanie about, is there a limit about how large a vehicle you can have at these meetups? Because she has a 27-foot shuttle, I guess, bus. Would there be room for her there?
Yes. My vehicle is, it's not even an extended van, and it's still like right at 20, 21 foot. So 27 is not an issue because, like you said before, we have other people that are driving a truck and pulling a small travel trailer behind them. I mean, I've never had, a big fifth wheel coming in with a truck or anything like that so far. So, but I have had, the larger class Cs that have come in. We had one lady that has a pretty good sized toy hauler class C, and not a problem. Yeah, just send a message and check with the host if you are questioning the size of your vehicle.
Oh, that's great. And Debbie Jean, are most of your meetups around in the Florida-ish area, or are you branching out also?
Well, most of mine are in Central Florida in the winter, because it seems to be, where people go from the north. They come down, to Florida. A lot of people go to Texas too. And I think that the meetups are growing in that area too in the wintertime. But Florida, we get a lot of snowbirds. So yes, most of my meetups are in the wintertime and fall to winter. And then I have had my North Carolina Jackrabbit Mountain meetup 3 years running now. So I do that in the spring.
And so Barb, from my experience, how you check in, usually the host or a volunteer for the host will be standing at the entrance to the park, and they will check each car in, for a few hours, because people will be checking in for a few hours. Do you have anything to add to that? How you check in, Debbie?
Yeah, that pretty much covers it. If you check out my YouTube channel, you'll see my DeLand meetup. I had a line that was already formed by the time I got there to get in, but I had some helpers that were there, and they were like getting them all pulled off to the side, and we got there, got the gates opened, and I have my list of who is signed up and who's paid to be there, and that's how we sign them in, check them in. If we have any, free gifts or whatever that we're handing out at the gate, then that's where we do all that stuff.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so Debbie Jean, let's ask, who here is interested in leading a meetup? If you're interested in leading a meetup, just put the word lead in the chat, and then we know if there's women interested in leading. I'll throw my name in the hat. I'm interested in leading a meetup. And so Debbie Jean is like a pro at this. She has done a ton of it. So I don't know if there's anybody better to learn some things about leading a meetup than you. So we've got 4 people, 5. We have the 5th is a maybe someday. Yeah, Barb says I have to go to one first. Yeah, I got that. So yeah, Catherine, same thing. Okay, so Debbie Jean, what would be the first step if you like? So I would here's one thing. This is another question for people. If you want to lead one, do you want to make money or not? Because some people lead meetups, it's their business. It's like their income. They make a significant income by leading meetups, maybe just half the year or 4 months or something like that. And so if you do have an interest in making money, just put a dollar sign, or or you just say no, like Mary said, nope, just for fun only. Because there's a difference in where you would host your meetup if you want to make money versus you just want to convene the group and help them. So
Correct.
Oh, that would be cool to do an artist caravan, Rain. That's really cool. Okay, so it sounds like we've got just for fun. Personally, I'd like to make money, but I have my own ideas about how I can do that because I want to lead meetups for business to help people start an online business. So, I can host that anywhere. Okay, at
Right.
least cover expenses, Mary says. Okay, so go ahead. What would be the starting place, Debbie Jean?
Well, the starting place would be for whoever it is that's out there that wants to do it, is to do their research, to find a location, to know how many they want to host a meetup for, and find the space for it, first off. And then after you find the space, then you
Let's
have to
stop there though, because for many of us, how do you find a space feels like I have no clue. So tell us, how do you actually find the space? How do you pick?
It just depends on what kind of meetup you're hosting. If you're hosting a camp meetup, then you're going to need to find a place that allows camping and for the number that you want to host.
When you say
So,
camping, they could be staying in their own rig. You just mean overnighting, right?
right. I mean, being able to park in a field or at a campground or a group campsite or whatever for the number of days that you want to do it. But,
Yeah.
not all meetups are camping and 3-night events or 6-night events. Some of them, I've had several day trip events where we met at IKEA one day and
Huh.
all walked through. We met in the parking lot. We did little chit chat van tours if we wanted to do it. And then after we had our little meet and greet in the parking lot, we went inside. We all strolled through IKEA. And at the end, we met at the food court. We had lunch together and showed it off all the things that we bought for our van at IKEA.
Oh, that sounds like a blast. What a
So
great idea.
that's just simple.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody has to really, other than saying we're starting here, we're meeting here, we're ending here. There's very little organizing that had to be done for that.
Right. Yeah.
Was that your idea?
That was not my original idea. There was a lady by the name of Jerry Lucas who was from Tampa, and she had done that previously.
Yeah.
And I think that she had done some other like kayaking day trip kind of, just a day out kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I admired her for coming up with that idea because that's very simple. Anybody can do that, So that might be how you get your feet wet, is just do a little day trip.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then if you wanted to do it at a campground, what is your method for searching for campgrounds?
Well, I look for group campsites.
And do you just Google group campsites in Florida kind of thing?
Yes. And you can do that on the state parks site. And then you can also do that on recreation.gov, which is, federal.
Mhm.
So there's just different possibilities.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to add, because I did a scouting trip a couple weeks ago up in northern Arizona, and I discovered that there are campgrounds that might have a horse area for horses, people who camp with horses, and they were happy to have a whole bunch of vehicles parked there. And they didn't charge any extra for additional vehicles. Like I think it said 10 vehicles on the website, but the guy said, hey, if you can get 30 in here, I'm fine with that. And I'm not going to charge you extra. Whereas another place that had a group site, he said, no, every extra vehicle is $8 a night, and I'm counting. And
All different.
so,
They're all
yeah. So what I discovered is that actually going to the campsite and talking to the camp host was critical because they had information that wasn't shared on the recreation.gov.
Yeah, I found that to be true myself. Even when it comes to like your firewood. You know, some of the camp hosts will provide firewood at a cost for you. So there's that.
Yeah. So Lynette says that Colorado Van Life, which is a group, I guess, meets the last Saturday of the month for a couple hours at a park. So this is a monthly thing, sounds like. And Melanie says there are alternative places like Boy Scout camps that will host groups in the off seasons or when the scouts aren't using it. So see, that's really smart. And there's probably church camps and other places like that that aren't on recreation.gov that you can discover
Yes.
that could work.
I mean, Lulu has actually hosted, I think, multiple meetups now at churches in the parking lot. And they've opened up their facility to them for bathrooms and for, you know, using their kitchen and that kind of stuff too. So,
That's really smart because for the church, it's a moneymaker for them. They're going to charge you a fee per night. It's a moneymaker for them. If they do it during the week when they're not using the facility, it's nobody's using it. And churches usually have really big parking lots. So you can have a lot of people.
hold on 1 second. I got to open this door for her. She's got to go out.
Left my window open and it's raining. I want my bed wet. Sorry.
No problem.
Be right back. Ready?
Thank you for that tip, Melanie. It opens up a whole bunch of new possibilities.
Sorry about that. Drop the phone. Here, I'm back.
So some meetup locations have no electricity, they might have no water, and they might have vault toilets and other, like if you were at a church, you might have bathrooms, you might have a kitchen you can use, all kinds of electricity, you know, so it really depends. There's a great variation of what the facilities are going to be, right, Debbie Jean?
Yes. Like we said before, they are all different, and they just, you know, you just have to check and do your research beforehand and know what's available, whether they have power or don't have power, so that whoever's attending can plan accordingly for what they need to bring, what they need to have to get them through the time period. I've had people that have left a meetup to go drive around and charge batteries, and you know, just depends on the place and what's available. Then I have had, you know, facilities that have power available, but only at the pavilion. So you have to be prepared that you may have to carry your power bank or bring a cart or something to cart it down to the pavilion to plug it in and recharge it.
Some people could,
So if a group of people wanted to volunteer and camp together,
yeah,
you know, there are other people going to be there too, of course.
Yeah.
It's, you know, but it's a way for a group of people to meet up and be together for a couple of days.
yeah, very clever. Okay, what other questions do you have for Debbie Jean about hosting or planning a meetup? And so, Debbie Jean, let me ask you while we're seeing if any questions come in. So do you, is part of your goal income generation? Because I think you host some meetups where there's a fee where you have to pay and you're collecting a fee, or is it, you know, are you earning money, losing money, breaking even? And what's your goal financially with meetups?
Again,
And your husband may have a different opinion.
yeah, again, that depends on the meetup, and it depends on the place and the amount of time and the cost. And
I'm asking you a different question than that. I'm asking you, what is your goal overall with meetups?
My goal,
Looking to make money, spend money, break even, like overall.
my overall goal is to at least break even. And I have made money. on Meetup before. That's not my goal. My goal is to put other women together and see them form relationships with each other. And I can't tell you the jizz that I get out of the women that it's their first one and they're so afraid, and they get there and they meet new people, and then I follow them on social media and I see them, and I can see those relationships happening at the meetup. And it's just a good feeling whenever you watch it later, and then I'll see them, oh, you're together and you're out in Colorado now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a great feeling. So they find their little travel groups and their little travel buddies, and they hook up, and then you just watch them flutter around.
So you might make money on one meetup and then, make more money than you spent on one meetup and spend more money than you made on another meetup. But financially, you're not needing a job. You're not needing to support yourself.
Correct.
So
I don't do it for the money. I'm not
Yeah.
doing it to make a living.
okay.
I'm okay with the way I'm doing things. So
And I want you to know, those of you who are here, that there are definitely some women that are doing it like their number one reason for hosting meetups is to make money. I'm not saying that they don't also want to do what Debbie Jean wants to do, connect women, provide a really fun experience, all that kind of thing, but they primarily do it as an income generating thing. And, I have no problem with any of that. Okay, so there's some questions for you. How do you keep track of registration?
I make a paper list. And Jan can tell you, because I've had her, I'm like, I want you to go over this list with me to make sure that I have,
Yeah.
thing in order, because, people will jump in at the last minute. You have cancellations at the last minute. Then you have others that want to jump in at the last minute. So when you're doing a meetup and you can only do a certain number, that's where the issues start, is because you have a waiting list. So you get full, and then you have a waiting list, and then you start getting cancellations, and then you start working the waiting list in. So
Yeah. And any thoughts that you have on going further south in Florida to host meetups?
myself personally,
Well, Karen just says, any thoughts on going further south in Florida for a meetup? I mean, she's perhaps considering hosting a meetup. That's what all these questions are about.
okay, yeah, I would go to a meetup in South Florida if somebody was hosting it.
All right.
Maybe, I mean, there's all kinds of different places to go and see and do. And
Mary wants to know, what do you do if there's bad behavior going on or if something bad happens?
you just handle it with a smile, and you have to be oh
Willing to take
Yeah.
charge of the situation.
you have to just
And
handle it the best way that you can.
Yeah.
And it depends on what the situation is. And you really have bad behavior. I mean, every once in a while, there's, maybe a dog that wants to be ugly with another dog or something. And that you just know, hey, that dog doesn't like that dog. So I'm going to make sure that they stay apart, and the owners handle it. So.
Yeah. And so, Catherine, the way you find people is these Facebook groups are the best ways that I know of to find people. And there might be local groups that aren't Facebook groups. I don't know how you would find them, because I don't know how you find anything anymore that's not on the internet. But yeah.
Yeah, Facebook is the number one way that I can think of. That's about it for me.
Yeah. And so how do you take the money? Lynette's wondering if you take credit cards or cash. How do you accept payment?
I accept payment through Venmo and Zelle. And I have not been taking PayPal, but I think I'm going to sign up for that as well. my first couple of meetups, I have to tell you, I didn't do digital. And it was cash.
It is cash. Yeah.
It was cash at the gate. And, you know, then after that, I found out, okay, I got to get with the program. I got to get up to speed here because everybody's like, can't you take Venmo or PayPal or whatever? I'm like, no, can you just bring cash? And then it was like, okay, I got to get on board here. So I did.
Yeah. So Catherine asked, do they have any that allow disabled activities to do with a family? So I think the meetups that Debbie Jean hosts and the ones that I've attended, they're for women. They're for single women or women, you know, there could be two women in a vehicle or, but it's for women. So I would just, again, I would look on Facebook groups for, you know, van meetups or whatever, any words that relate to that, and put in the word family or put in the word disabled and see what comes up. iPhone, it's not rude to want private time occasionally. I am a person who like leaves, I don't attend the evening activity or whatever, the campfire, you know, I go to read in my van. It's not rude at all. Everybody can do whatever they want. Nobody's monitoring who's doing what and whether you're there or not. Yeah.
Right. And the same thing goes with like eating. You know, there's we do the potlucks and we do group meals and stuff like that. But there's some people that have special dietary needs, so they have to go and bring their meal to the get together, or go and eat at their van, or you know, and nobody is judging.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There was like a potato bar that you guys had at one of the meetups, and I don't eat potatoes. And so I brought a bowl of rice and I had some of the toppings, and I, you know, had a little bit of the potluck or the meal that was provided, but I had my own thing, and I, you know, it was great. Okay, so right now I would like everybody to acknowledge Debbie Jean in the chat. What is something that you appreciate about her, something you want her to recognize, that, you know, qualities that you see in her, gratitude that you have for her, for sharing all of her wisdom, for being resilient and climbing in to another vehicle to use Jan's phone.
No, Jan climbed into my vehicle so that I could use her phone. Thank you, Jan.
You're welcome.
We're in your vehicle. Jan climbed in your vehicle. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you got to show us. Give us a little tour. Shine that phone around.
Oh, come on now. Come on. Here. Okay. Here's Jan. She's sitting in my front swivel seat. And you can see I got my hubby on a stick up there. I asked him to drive earlier. I sent him a text and said, hey, can you drive a while? I'm tired. But back here is my bed. I have a twin size bed in the back. And if my husband travels with me, it pulls out, it slides out this way, and the cushions that are on the benches flip up and it makes into a queen size bed.
Wow.
These are my newest cabinets that he just put in for me right before I left.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, he does a good job. He's good to me.
Where's your kitchen?
My kitchen is back here.
That was a pretty
behind
meager
me.
tour you just gave us.
This is my kitchen sink and my kitchen faucet. This
Faucet.
is the kitchen.
You could almost take a shower in that faucet.
You can. And if you watch my videos on YouTube, you'll see
All right.
how I can do that.
And so that's a beautiful kitchen cabinet. Where'd you get that?
My husband built it.
Oh my gosh, that's not fair. Does he
built all of these
rent out?
cabinets. He built them all by hand. They're all made from scratch.
That's incredible. That is gorgeous work.
And I didn't know that he could actually do this until he did it. And then it was like, oh my gosh, honey, that's awesome. See, all my food is up here.
Yeah. I am so disappointed that I did not climb into your van and look at it when we were in Florida together. Why did I not do that? What was going on?
It probably didn't look like this when you were here, because a lot of this stuff he just finished up.
I'll tell
Okay,
you.
there's my big thumb again. I just got rid of her. So
You guys are sideways now. There you go.
how's that? Is that better?
I'll tell you why, Debbie Jean. When I was in Florida, I still thought I wanted a minivan.
Well,
I
you
didn't
know,
I didn't know I was going to move into a, woman who wanted to live in a Ram ProMaster.
well, I still can't make up my mind. You know, I have 2 vans. I still have a minivan. And, I used it just recently when I went to Sebring and I stayed in it for 3 nights. And then I ran up to Amelia Island to another meetup that a lady was hosting and stayed a couple of nights in it up there before I hit the road. But
now you're in your ProMaster. Okay, let's see some of these gorgeous things that people are acknowledging you for. You got to read these. I'm not going to read them all because they are voluminous.
oh,
Karen says, I love her personality. She's so welcoming and makes sure everyone feels included. Isn't that right?
oh,
Karen says,
true.
Debbie Jean is a gracious hostess and genuinely cares about all the ladies.
True.
Erin says, I love your positive attitude and willingness to share your wisdom with us. Looking forward to seeing you at a meetup once I hit the road. Yes.
Awesome. I would love to meet you.
Barb says, I'm not as scared to go to my first meetup. Also, choosing a meetup is important too. Yes.
Mhm.
Robin says, Debbie Jean, you have such a nice, personable aura about you. This is my first
Oh.
Wow Zoom. Welcome, Robin. You've made this
Hey, me
approachable.
too, Robin. And you see how I goofed that up. Thank God I had my friend Dan next to me.
No, I did not get my Ram ProMaster, and I just shot a video about it. I'm going to be posting it sometime the next few days.